All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Ibe, Special Advisor and Spokesperson for former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who was also a presidential candidate in the last election. And I have Mr. Henry Shield, who is the head of mission Leadership and Accountability Institute, Nigeria. Gentlemen, thank you very much for giving us a bit of your time this morning. We'll be talking about the political situation in Nigeria. Let me come to you, Paul. There have been back and forth. It's only months to elections next year, and there has been political jostling ahead of the elections. But looking at it from your perspective, what do you see as the current political situation in Nigeria in the run-up to next year's general election?
Peter, thanks for having me. You know, it is sad that what is going on right now is that the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is majoring in minors. They should be focused on governance. Before he traveled for the 2 weeks break that he had in Paris, which has become his favorite, holiday, spot, when there are lots of places to wind down in Nigeria, he did have a meeting, and in which he apologized, for having focused so much on politics as opposed to governance. And the reason, according to him, was because of the opposition party. But that is a lie. The truth, is that they are focused on politics because they've looked at all of the dynamics, and it is difficult for them, to be able to win the election free and, free, fair election. And that is why they are using all manner of gimmicks, to try and, move ahead. And, that includes also trying to decimate, the opposition parties. And if you recall, that was what led, to the birth, of the African Democratic Congress as a viable alternative platform, following the demise, so to say, of the People's Democratic Party, which is supposed to be the main opposition party.
Let me come to you, Mr. Shield. What do you see as the political situation in the country? Because some people are suggesting that in spite of the challenges that the current administration is facing, the opposition appears to be weak and disintegrated, not united, and might not even be able to pose any political threat to the dominance of the APC ahead of next year's general election.
Thank you. I think I would say this. Currently, the country is on a free fall. Constitutionally, it's on a free fall because there is actually what we call a disconnect between governance and the lives of the people. There is no correlation between what democracy is and what is currently being practiced under the APC.
Why do you say so?
Because every indices points to the fact that we don't even know what we are practicing. As at this moment, I'm an analyst. I don't look at policies. As at this moment, and I'm asking you, you can call your colleagues who are in Nigeria today and ask them. Nobody can define what we are practicing in Nigeria today. Nobody. I don't know if it is a democracy. I don't know if it's pseudo-democracy. I don't know if it's a meritocracy. I don't know if it's a capitocracy. There is no defined word.
But you went to an election about 3 years ago, and although there were challenges about how the election went, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared the winner by INEC and was statutorily sworn in as the next president of Nigeria, taking over from former President Buhari, who just passed away.
Have you seen the result sheet from that election where he was declared president? I can forward you a couple of result sheets from the polling unit. So you now decide if you think that was the real decision or the real choice of the Nigerian people. See, basic things need to be defined first. We can discuss road. Anyone can give you road. A military dictator can give you road. Abacha gave us road. Do you understand? Anybody can give you road. You can discuss water, you can discuss education. The basic thing in a democracy is the adherence to democratic tenets, to the constitution. And once these ones are desecrated, I personally cannot say, maybe Mazi can say, maybe Mr. Paul can say, for me as a Rishil, who has looked at the whole thing happening in Nigeria, I cannot in all sincerity say Nigeria is currently practicing democracy. Let me give you an instance. 6 months ago, right, the president woke up and decided to declare a state of emergency in a state in Nigeria. Not only did he declare a state of emergency, which he had the power to declare, he suspended an elected governor. There is nowhere in the Nigerian 1999 constitution that empowers the president to suspend another elected person. Someone
Now,
elected
talking
like
about
him.
suspension, let's talk about freedoms. Paul, coming to you, because Omoyele Sowore, an activist who also ran as a presidential candidate, recently was charged by the DSS for attempting to disturb public peace. He's being charged, and he says those are politically motivated and all that. Talking about freedoms in Nigeria as it stands now, where do you stand on that?
Well, the reality is that democracy is in peril in Nigeria. That's the point that Henry is trying to say. And that's the first battle before we even talk about governance. So, this democracy that we are practicing since 1999, was bought. It was purchased, so to say, at a very high price, to human rights. Chief M.K. Abiola, Major General Shehu Yadua, the wife of M.K. Abiola, lots of children, activists were all killed in that process. And so, we paid a heavy price. And I believe that all of those who have passed away, who sacrificed their life for what we are enjoying, in terms of democratic rule, they would tremble, in their graveyards, seeing what is playing out. What is playing out is a dictatorship. And that is exactly why people like, Sowore and so many others are being hounded. They are being harassed. They are being intimidated. And, the democratic space is being, it's been, reduced, daily. The suspension of the governor and the lawmakers is unconstitutional. It's illegal. And it's part of the permutations ahead of 2027 to ensure that there is no opposition. Whether it's in the media, independent media, whether it's in the civil society, whether it's in the political parties, that is what they are saying, because they have looked clearly that they have nothing. They have nothing to report. More than 2 years, going on 3 years after they got a mandate. And the only way for them to win an election is to begin the process of rigging it. So that process has already started. The question is...
But Paul, some are suggesting that the opposition parties themselves, like the People's Democratic Party, the biggest opposition party that for the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar led as a presidential candidate in the last election, is in shambles right now. A new formation has come out of the African Democratic Congress, or ADC, that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has joined. The opposition, they said, is weak, which they said allows or enables the APC to continue to dominate in spite of the accusations that it wants to rig the election. So the opposition is in disarray. Do you blame the ruling party when the opposition, they said, appear not to get its acts together?
Yes and no. The so-called PDP you're talking about, has characters, has a man like former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, who is a senior cabinet, member of this administration. And he has a mandate, and his mandate is to work in cahoots with the ruling APC to destroy the PDP, the Labour Party and all other opposition parties. And he's doing a damn good job of that. And the question is this is where the the issue of the fact that there is what's called the anti-corruption agencies are being used in a partisan way. They have been adopted as an organ of the ruling party, because if they have not been, why wouldn't, at this particular point in time, Minister Nyesom Wike should have been invited, to answer questions about the properties that he bought, in Florida. In fact, there's also a report that is the fourth one. And these properties were bought with public funds. And so you can't parrot an administration that says that it is strengthening anti-corruption fight, and while at the same time it is clear that one of his senior members has purchased properties in Florida, and that is where we need the United States and all other nations of goodwill who strongly believe that the importance of Nigeria in expanding the democratic distance, because we need to have due diligence. I mean, America and others should not be promoting, characters like Wike and the rest of them, presiding over the affairs of Nigeria. The things that are not tolerable in America should not be tolerated in Nigeria. In America, there is due diligence, in this, in the search for who becomes the president. But we have a president today whose identity is unknown, he has a lot of, skeletons in his cupboard. His records in the U.S., there have been subpoenas, there have been all efforts to try and make sure that they are made public. And we are told that the CIA says that he is an asset to the United States, but he should be an asset to Nigeria that he should be presiding over. So we are hoping that with all of the revelations coming out of the, Florida about the properties that Minister Wike had bought, that they will focus on that and ensure that characters like those people are not allowed to have a free way to go in and out of the U.S. so they can help us in our strengthening of our democratic institutions.
Henry, the U.S. Embassy came out with a strong worded on X, formerly Twitter, saying that it will hold Nigerians accountable who are alleged or who have been deemed to be corrupt, and that there will be imposed visa restrictions. Now, before we go into that, the opposition Nigerians are saying it's in disarray. Where do they go from here? Where do you see? Because the APC, some Nigerians also tell me that are on track to win next year's general election, including the presidential vote.
First and foremost, the opposition needs to get his act together. As at now, not only are they not coordinated, there is the opposition fire is gradually waning. We are not seeing that firebrand. See what Mr. Paul was speaking about earlier, about Nyesom Wike and the rest. It took just one citizen of Nigeria to challenge him, to start exposing these things, right? What if that Nigerian did not do that? The opposition is sleeping on a whole lot of things. About 3 months ago, this same minister was exposed to have been allocating lands, large expanse of lands, to his children within the FCT. Opposition did not take advantage of that. The current government has been giving the opposition enough ammunition since 2023 that he came on board, but the opposition doesn't seem to have the courage. They have the numbers, right? Because so millions of Nigerians are disenchanted with this government, but the opposition are yet to see the courage. I want to see an opposition that puts the government on its toes. This government is getting away with so much. Look at the removal of fuel subsidy, the increase in electricity tariff, all the problems that they placed on Nigerians, all the choking policies that this government has imposed on Nigerians. Opposition has not been able to articulately respond to these policies by the government. I'll give you an example. In 2012, President Jonathan tried to remove the fuel subsidy. After 6 months engagement with the critical stakeholders, the current government of Nigeria, the current president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they managed a nationwide protest against that policy. That is the job of opposition. In January 2012, when this happened, This government made sure that it turned the people against the government of Jonathan, even though that government seemingly had good intentions towards Nigerians. I've not seen the current opposition being able to push effectively in such a way that, okay, power can look assured to them. Yes, there are pockets of, okay, press releases, but in our crime, in this country, press releases do not win power. They do not win you government house. What wins you government house are actions. This government has undertaken enough policies that the people want to come out and say enough is enough. By January 1st, 2026, you're going to have another tax regime that is going to cut Nigerians economically. The opposition has not been able to find a proper response to that. So, Mr. Paul, this is a challenge to you and other leaders of the opposition. You need to get your act. See, there is nothing. I know a lot of you are scared, a lot of you are, but if we did it under President Buhari, we were able to challenge him, we were able to do this. There is nothing stopping the leaders of the opposition. That's why he was invited in Kaduna after his gathering was attacked. Nothing stopped all the opposition leaders from marching to the police station and telling them, do whatever you want to do. We are waiting. We are not scared. Do you want to lock all of us? You analyze the battle. It becomes a global news item. But all of you are, okay, Stamboa was picked. He was locked up. Nobody, you are paying him visit after he was released. What if Stamboa had not been released till now? So you mean a leader of the opposition will be allowed to rot in detention of Tinubu? I think your leaders are scared, and I think they can do better. See, don't worry about Nigerians. Nigerians are tired with this government. They need to come out en masse. Look at Nepal.
Let me come to you, Paul. Let me come to you, Paul. News I'm hearing from the grapevine suggests that the ADC appears to be so confident that it will win power in the next election, in spite of the fact that Nigerians are suspicious that the opposition is weak, like Henry said, and disunited, in spite of the bravado being shown. Why is the APC appears so confident in spite of the worry that the election might not be even go your way next year?
Well, Peter, there is nothing wrong in projecting confidence. What is wrong is being overconfident, and I don't think the ADC is overconfident. Listen, this opposition, the opposition, being advanced, being projected by ADC, it's an opposition in transition. Don't forget that, we have leaders, from different political parties who are coming together, and it's still early days. What is going on right now is, mobilization, trying to mobilize and unite and bring together those leaders, with a view, for them to, try to mobilize, their members, from the grassroots and all of that. That is going on. Yes, maybe there's a lot more can be done. But I believe that sooner than later, when the train rolls off, the train station, people are going to, be jumping on at the multiple stations that are going to, that is going to have, stopovers. We're confident, the fact that, and again, the AGC is also a response to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. I mean, Atiku Abubakar and other leaders didn't just wake up and this year there was a vacuum right there, and it needed to be filled, and they have filled it. The thing now is like Shield is saying, is trying to mobilize, there. Yes, they can be disenchanted Nigerians, but it is our ability to mobilize them and be able to translate, that disenchantment into votes, when the election, comes. And I think that process is, is ongoing. And like I said, sooner than later, they need to pick up a steam.
Henry, let me come to you. The issue of corruption, like I mentioned earlier on, the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria has warned public officials who are engaged in acts of corruption that they will impose visa restrictions. But some are saying that if you accuse somebody of corruption, you must prove it, and that some of these corruption issues that have come are just mere allegations with no tangible proof of evidence to back them up. And the government is saying that it has bolstered its fight against corruption, and they are going after those who have been accused of corruption, and they are fighting corruption as an art, and Nigerians are witnesses. What say you?
First of all, let me thank the U.S. government through the U.S. Embassy in Abuja for that pronouncement, because for now, that is what it is. It's a pronouncement, and we are grateful for it, but we are also appealing that they go further than just making pronouncements. We want to see actions. This particular pronouncement by the government, by the U.S. government through the embassy, is something that has the capacity to change a whole lot of things within the Nigerian system. Because believe me, Nigerian politicians love to go to America. Forget what anybody is saying on national TV or anything. They love to go. In fact, there is rarely any one of them who doesn't have a stake, either property or children or family or something in the US. The US government needs to go beyond this. Now, a particular individual is currently being exposed as having acquired property, several properties in Florida, using stolen funds from Nigeria to acquire these properties. Petitions have been done to the Attorney General of Florida, to the U.S. Attorney General. We want to see how far the U.S. government will go. Now, I'll make a reference to something. During the last election of 2023, we saw mutilated election result sheets. Our organization did a petition mentioning names to the U.S. government. You can get the letter here. We mentioned names that these individuals have sabotaged the will of the people. Like I said earlier, forget the roads and the infrastructure. The basic things about democracy need to first of all be secured. No human being should be able to desecrate the will and the wishes of the people at that level. We wrote to the U.S. government, we named names, we showed evidences and everything, and it was still, from the records we're getting as at 24 hours, 48 hours ago, these individuals were still able to buy properties in the U.S. after that petition, where evidences and the rest were presented. So for now, little bit skeptical about the statement by the U.S. government, but we are praying and wishing that sincerely individuals who steal public funds in Nigeria can be made scapegoats. Let them not have free access to the free world where democracy actually, truly, and genuinely thrives and works. Because when you are able to, a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria today earns roughly about $5,000 in a year. That's the annual salary, a year, not monthly, right? So if your annual salary is about $5,000, how are you able to buy property over 1 million, over $500,000, 1, 2, 3, 4 properties? How were you able to get the resources to buy this? This is one thing that, this is one area. If the United States is sincere, some of us are not carried away by the statements and public, those ones are, anybody can say that. We want to see the US government go after these individuals who have made life extremely difficult for Nigerians and brought the proceeds of crime to come and invest in their country. The US Embassy should please and please go beyond these statements. Let us actually see that visas are being denied, not just denied those who are in Nigeria, their family, their children who are in your country, them brought back because they are there on proceeds of crime. That is the only way that some of us will be able to clap. But and acknowledge the effort of the US government towards helping Nigeria curb corruption. Thank you.
Paul, before we go, what should Nigerians expect from the ADC? Some are saying it's at its infancy stage. However, it remains confident. People are saying the APC has begun even penciling out cabinet ministers and positions and all that. What should Nigerians expect from you?
Well, Peter, before I speak to that, let me tell you what Nigerians expect from the United States government. Right now, as we speak, there is frustration. There's frustration among Nigerians that the US and its institutions are enabling corruption in Nigeria. That's the concern of a lot of Nigerians. So beyond the rhetorics, beyond the issue of trying to visa ban and the rest of it, you will need to see critical actions taken, because you see, 1 out of every 5 black men is a Nigerian. That's how important. That is how key Nigeria is, to all of this, process of advancing democracy. Nigeria is key. And having recognized that, the United States government and its institutions need to work with the Nigerian people in ensuring that all of these proceeds of corruption don't end up offshore in the United States, in properties, money laundering, and the rest of it. They need to do a whole lot. And that is why I'm using this opportunity to call on President Donald Trump, whom we know to be a very courageous man, to put his foot down and ensure that all of these people who are, serving Nigerians the shortest end of the stick, they are brought to book. Now, about the ADC, the expectation. First of all, like I told you, this battle is on, it's on 2 fronts. One is democracy. Democracy is in peril. If we don't fight to recover democracy, where votes will come, where choices will have to be made, where you can belong to party A and I belong to party B, and all of us do not necessarily need to be railroaded into belonging to the APC, which is what is ongoing. The anti-corruption agencies, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the ICPC, all of that, the state institutions, security institutions, and even the judiciary have become organs of the ruling party. How can democracy thrive under such a situation? At the end of the day, there will be no election. They will simply write the results. And like Henry is saying, we saw, what happened with the last election. By next month, Mahmoud Yakubu will exit. But he's here to make reckoning. He's here to give account of the 2023 election. We don't have results of that election. What we have are, mutilated the result all over those places. He needs to render account to Nigerians, and we are calling on him to do that. So the ADC will ensure that the battle of democracy, to preserve democracy, is intensified, if for nothing, for those lives that were sacrificed, prior to 1999, when we had a return to democracy. So having achieved that, the ADC will provide a viable platform that will ensure that Nigerians are mobilized towards ensuring, the exit of the APC, to provide an alternative, governance that will ensure that, the material well-being of Nigerians, improves, their security improves. Essentially, that is why, you have a government. It's for the, is to ensure the, the security and the welfare, of the people. And right now, Nigerians are going through hell. The minimum wage cannot buy a bag of rice. That's how bad the situation is. Forget all of the things they're, telling you, which is from a playbook of Animal Farm, where 2 legs are good and 4 legs are, four legs are better. Where there is an increase, in the banks, and there is nothing. They tell you the GDP. All those figures are sexed up. All the figures from the state's National Bureau of Statistics, they're all sexed up figures. Don't believe that. You need to go to the market and see, the prices of commodities, and see that even Nigerians don't have the money. We are being taxed to death. And like Henry said, by January, by January, Nigerians will be in ICU on account of the humongous, tax. And we cannot tax our way out of this current situation.
Thank you very much, Paul Idbe, for joining us, and Henry Shield. We thank you for giving us a bit of your time today. Thank you for joining us on the African Settings Exchange show. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.